Hello and welcome to Back of the Net and Beyond, where today I'm going to be speaking to former professional footballer Lewis Buxton, who played for Portsmouth, Sheffield Wednesday and Stoke City, to name a few. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Good, yeah, you?
Yeah, all good, mate. Long time no see. How's things?
They're good, yeah. Obviously, we've had a little chat, haven't we, in the build-up, but it's it's good, different. Life's a bit different to playing. And we used to play together at Bournemouth, but it's good. Kids and all that business.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah,
older. Getting older, ain't we? Just let everyone know kind of what you're doing nowadays and kind of your day-to-day life.
Day-to-day life, yeah. I'm a coach, consultant, and trainer with Lit Within, and privately, I do coaching with players, some coaches, some managers. Also, my wife has got a short-term rental property company, so I help her with that as well. And then I'm still part of a company called Perk, so occasionally I do work for that as well. And I've got 2 kids, and that's about it.
So it's safe to say that you've got a lot going on then, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot, but like you said, when you transition out of football, you just got to run with things, haven't you? And my passion is the coaching, consulting, and training, but obviously you've got other commitments that you have to stick with. So yeah.
Okay, and then so you mentioned the company called Lit Within. So talk to us about that. Kind of what does that involve, and was it something that you set up on your own, or?
No, it was something. So I did while I was still playing. I was playing at Sheffield Wednesday, and then after Sheffield Wednesday, I had a year at Rotherham and a year at Bolton, and then I stopped playing. So those last 3 years, I was transitioning already. I was travelling to Regent's University to train with a guy called Jamie Smart, who was delivering his Clarity program, which is basically just a new understanding of the mind that you can take into business and into sport. And then I met a guy there called Michael Gilmore. He was just passing through. He'd done his training already had the company Lit Within, and then eventually we got together about a year later. We were working on a project together, and and then we just joined forces. So obviously I've got that arm that involves going into companies and elevating their performance through their people rather than their processes and systems, changing their culture. Mental health is part of it. So yeah, it's just basically consulting and coaching, which is not something I thought I'd get into, but I really enjoy it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I suppose that's the main thing. Obviously, if you enjoy it, it makes the job kind of slightly easier for yourself going forward. You mentioned there kind of you get involved with companies and kind of you kind of alter their way of thinking. So how does that work then? Is it a case of going in and working with everyone within the company, or just like the people who run it, or how does that work?
Yeah, usually it can vary, but usually it's the leadership team.
Okay.
And you'll go and work with them one-to-one, work on their strategy, how they want to deliver their cultural message and communicate it to the rest of the team. Okay. And then be working with the managers within it as well, and then occasionally lower down and you're getting involved with coaching employees if and when they need it. But ultimately it's just about creating the right environment, the right culture for everyone to develop, progress and enjoy coming to work. So it's pretty simple, but surprisingly there's a lot of people that don't get the best out of themselves, and they're a bit inconsistent, or even worse, they're just not enjoying their work at all.
Okay, so is it a case of kind of going in and changing their psyche, kind of changing their mindset and how they kind of their outlook on kind of their role in their job?
Yeah, so basically, it all boils down to the understanding they have of themselves, really, and that permeates through the whole organisation. But obviously, we're going in there to solve a particular problem. It might be a sales problem, it might be a leadership problem, it might be a communication problem. But it all boils down to the individuals, usually at the top, that you have to work with. And we just, there's so many different things that we do with them, but in general, it's just about breaking down all the barriers, everyone communicating and enjoying it. You all know from football, when you go into a club and everybody's just open and honest with each other, it's good. So and less so when there's fragmented units, people are not getting on, people have got their reasons why they're not performing and communicating, and it's not as, performance levels are not consistent, and you're up and down and all over the place. So I mean, when we were at Bournemouth, I thought me and you got on well, didn't we? I thought. Yeah. I mean, you tell me different, but
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. I was thinking about it last night, because obviously I write notes on people that are going to feature on the show. I was thinking about our time there, and I didn't realise how many games you played when you were there, and like how long you were there for.
At Bournemouth.
Yeah, because you were there initially the first time for about 3 months off the top of my head.
I had to go back.
Yeah, I remember that. So you came on loan from Portsmouth, and then I don't even know how it happened. I mean, we just struck it off kind of straight away. I was living in Diggs. I think, were you in a hotel, or were you driving in every day from Portsmouth?
I was driving from Portsmouth,
Yeah. So, and then it just went from there. And I remember, obviously, when you came, and I can't remember the reasons why, but we needed like some new players. I think players had left and whatever else, and like you came in. Obviously, you were a good player anyway. And so, in terms of our defence, because we were a good team invariably, especially in that league, we had a passing team and a good manager. So, but we needed strengthening, and obviously the manager brought yourself in. And I think in terms of our defence, you definitely made our defence stronger anyway. And you were kind of a permanent fixture in the side. So, but yeah, we did get on. And obviously, as you know, people leave and go to different clubs and whatever. And you just get on with, you're immersed in kind of the club that you go to. And then we've all done it. You end up losing contact or whatever. And then again, we're here now, kind of, 15, nearly 20 years later. And obviously, we've both got kids and married and kind of, obviously doing our own thing. So, like I said, great to catch up, and obviously thanks for coming on. But yeah, so just to touch back on kind of Lit Within, and you mentioned obviously what you do there. So in terms of the companies that you're going out to see, are they quite receptive in terms of you going in and obviously doing what you need to do?
No, not always.
Okay.
So it depends, Sometimes you'll start off, and usually what happens is one person is receptive, and then the other people, it takes time for them to understand the value, because quite often there's a gap between people seeing that there's a real world problem, if you like, and what's going on for them psychologically. So I think initially a lot of people struggle with it, because they don't see the fit. They don't see how everything that you experience goes from in to out. They think that I'll just sort the surface stuff out. We'll just increase our margin, increase our turnover, and everything will be fine. Then I can be happy and chilled out. But I think once you sit down and you talk to people, you get to know them. They can come out and be honest and tell you what they think about the business and the market they're in and what they're up against. And then you start getting somewhere, and you develop a bit of trust. So it's the same as any business, really. Once you have that trust, then things start to flow, and you start coming up with solutions rather than just stuck in your old ways and just same problems time after time. I mean, it's a bit like going into a changing room, isn't it? When you go in the first day and you're like a bit stiff, and you're like, all right. Sort of shaking everyone's hands, and you sit down, and you can be a bit unsure. And then I guess other characters, they'll go in and they're really loud, and everyone's like, "What's going on here?" So it's just, you get to see a lot of stuff that plays out in the changing room. You can see how it relates into business, even if it, you know, it'd be a startup or a big business. It's always the same. It's just human connection, human relationships. And then you see clubs like Liverpool, you know, they've obviously had the success, so everyone jumps on their bandwagon. But then there's people lower down who have slowly developed, you know, clubs like Brentford and people like that, where, you know, they've not had all the money in the world, but they've slowly progressed. And you know, even Bournemouth with Eddie, I know they had decent backing, you know, eventually. But he still had to take them so far, and you get that with a proper team unit who work hard together.
That's true. I mean, it sounds really exciting what you're doing, and I'm assuming it can work across kind of any industry, any organisation, really. So sport and outside of sport as well.
Yeah, it can do. I mean, obviously, my core interest is sport, but it works in any business because it's human based, you know. And you know, Michael's who I work with, he's my business partner. His background is manufacturing high performance vehicles. So I think for us, it's more about that side. You know, the car industry and sport together. There are two focal points, but we do what we do in other sectors as well when we can.
Brilliant, mate. And obviously, so we mentioned at the top of the show that you used to be a professional footballer and you played to a high level, and we'll touch on that slightly later on. But kind of what you're doing now is completely different to obviously playing sport. You're still involved in it to some capacity, as you mentioned. How did you find your transition? So we're talking about kind of your retirement, the reasons behind it, the process, and then transitioning away. Because I think you mentioned that you were kind of involved in what you're doing now towards the latter stages of your career. But in terms of actually transitioning, talk us through that process. So being involved whilst you're playing, and obviously then completely retiring and continuing doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I worked for, I transitioned probably 3 years before I finished, maybe a bit before that. I had always had an interest in psychology. I worked sort of at the back end of my career with a psychologist and an NLP master practitioner, and a woman who did a bit of everything. She was even hypnosis and that type of thing. So I had an interest in it. I knew there was some relevance to it with sport, like a bit of untapped potential in it. So I was always trying to figure out ways to improve myself while I was playing. And I just got interested in it more and more, studied it, the history of it, where it is at now. And then I read a book eventually called Clarity by Jamie Smart. And I thought, this guy is riding a wave here. He knows more than the psychologist, the NLP guy. He was an NLP practitioner, but he transitioned. And then I just got drawn into it, and I just thought, right, I'm gonna look into this more, and just studied it myself. Got inspired by everything I was looking at, and eventually went and did the training. So yeah, it was one of those things. You just followed your nose. It was just intuition. Just followed my interest, and thought, well, if I can make a career out of this, I've got to enjoy it. Then I'll do it. And at the same time, I was working with the company called Perk for about 7-8 years on and off. So I was getting experience with sales and marketing and all that type of thing while I was still playing as well. So it was just one of those things. You know, when you're getting to the later years in football that you're gonna have to do something. I've started doing my coaching badges, but I wasn't ready to go into coaching or anything like that straight away. I wanted to do something different. So to me, it's just when players are like, right, I've got an interest in this, and then you've got to figure it out. You've got to have the self determination, if you like, to just keep at it, because it's funny because you've spent your whole career learning to play football, and you're a specialist in that field. There's not that many people that can do it to that level in the world. And then all of a sudden, if you haven't got something else, you're starting from the bottom. And everybody else, if you go into like you with being an estate agent or whatever you're doing, then you're starting from the bottom unless you start learning. So I think people get a bit, they kind of get a warped sense of reality sometimes, because really it's like you're starting from nothing. I know you've got skills that transition on the human side, but like the hard skills, you've got to go out and train like you have when you were a little whippersnapper kicking the ball against the wall. You know?
Yeah, it's true, to be honest. And I'm glad you touched on that, because I was talking about this to someone the other day. So when it comes to playing football, we often talk about being a professional, but the 10 years before that, you're training to get to that level. So it's more or less the same in kind of your average 9 to 5 or whatever business you're involved in. You train for a period of time before you get to be a successful businessman, businesswoman, or whatever it may be. And often as a footballer, because we're kind of immersed in our sport at the age of 25, 26, 27, all your friends outside of sport, they've already gone through the apprenticeship, middle management. So when it comes to you retiring at, let's call it 32, 33, if you compare yourself to your friends, they're all kind of CEOs, business owners, whether it be in carpentry or whatever, an office job or whatever. And you're kind of transitioning, you're transitioning from football for whatever reason, retirement, or you just had enough, or injury. And then you're having to start, like you said, from the bottom. And some players, some athletes may not be aware or willing to do that. And that's where they become unstuck. So for me, when I transitioned, slightly easier for me because it was my own choice. And I had the mental capacity from the age of 23, 24, to know that if I don't make enough money, when I come to retire, I'm going to have to work. So although I didn't know what I wanted to do, I always thought, well, if I can find something that will allow me to enjoy myself and progress, and give me the opportunity, then I'll retire. And obviously that's what I did. So I retired when I was 31, but I had to, again, start from the bottom. And I knew that, but within the company, I knew that there was room to progress. So I was willing to go in and get the accreditations that you need to obviously showcase your skills and your knowledge. And before you know it, within a year or so, I was kind of selling the service and generating business for the company. So, but you have to be willing. A lot of people in sport are kind of fixated on their salary, and they want to leave and retire and then be on par with what they were earning before. And it's not always going to be like that. In terms of my salary, I think I was earning probably a third or a quarter of what I was used to earning in football, and I wasn't on big wages. So that was a massive step for me, and that's another thing that kind of athletes need to consider as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, I mean, so in terms of your transition then, so you were kind of transitioning whilst you were playing still. Do you think that aided you as well? Because the stats are there to show that if players are doing something outside of their chosen field and it's working well, normally that will translate to on the pitch or on the field or whatever it may be that you do for sport. So was that the case for yourself?
What do you mean? Did it help with my football career, mate?
Yeah.
Well, what I came to understand about the mind, definitely helped me on the pitch, because I don't know. I think I probably wasted a bit of time. Like early in my career, I got in the first team at Portsmouth and played a season in the first team when I was 17 and 18. And then after a year or something, I ended up coming on loan with you guys down at Bournemouth. And I think in that period, I became a bit disillusioned at times, because you get fobbed off. 1 minute you train with the first team and you're playing every week, and then you've got a manager who's very supportive. I had Graham Ricks at the time and Jim Duffy, Mark O'Connor, Sean North, Roger North, Pud North, all these coaches, and they're you've known them since you're 12 years old, and then all of a sudden at the top, the manager and the assistant get the bullet, and then somebody else comes in and they're, it's a different kind of setup, and they're not interested so much in the youth. So I think at that young age, when I got disillusioned a little bit with it, you miss out on an opportunity because your mindset's not quite right, and there's no one that tells you the truth and keeps you in check. I had an agent, but you know what it's like. Unless you're Wayne Rooney, they're not even talking to you. So I think that mindset, you realize there's a gap, and then that led me into thinking, well, what's that about? Why am I taking my foot off the gas? And then eventually, after a long up and down, I got to a stage towards the end of my career where I realized, right, I get why all this is happening, why I'm up and down sometimes. And then that definitely helped on the pitch, but it also helped when I was transitioning, because I knew when it was time to call it a day, because I'd been injured a lot. I was having injections in my back. I'd had a back operation a long time ago in Stoke. The specialist showed me a scan of it, and it was like, it didn't look too good, my disc, and he was like, you're probably best just calling it a day.
Really?
So at that point I was like, obviously it's a big change in your life, but I was ready for it. I was still like, you have your moments. Like, I remember just thinking, this is the end. All that you've worked for since you were 7 or 8 or something. Spent like nearly 30 years doing it. So it was emotional when that happened. But I remember sitting in my car like shedding a tear, thinking, "Oh, that's it now." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you just move on. Because you've got, like you said, that mental clarity, that mental strength on tap. You can just move on and start to kick on. So definitely that helped me, both on the pitch and in the difficult times where I was trying to train, but I just couldn't get any momentum because I just kept getting injured. So definitely helped me on the pitch. Definitely.
So you mentioned obviously that you retired through injury. So again, that must have been tough to take because it's kind of out of your hands. But you had that resilience to obviously push forward, and obviously what you're doing now, I think, is obviously amazing. When you transitioned, did you get any help at all? Was there anyone, any organisation, or anyone in particular that helped you? Maybe like a former pro who's been through that scenario, or teammate, or something like that?
No, I don't think so. No, to be honest, no. I didn't get any help, to be honest. It's just obviously you've got options. You've got like you've got the PFA that will chip in with a course here or there. But I knew what I wanted to do. That wasn't quite in fitting with what the PFA are offering, so I had to find my own way. So no one helped. I mean, I had friends, do you know what I mean? So I could say that they probably helped, because you can talk to them. You talk to them about it. Some were still playing, some were had been retired for a few years. So that's good. I had Dal Russell, who used to play at Norwich and Stoke. I played with him. We're still friends. Carl Henry, who owns Perk, and I was at Stoke with him before he went to Wolves. So there's people you speak to that are kind of like that, I guess. So although there's no mentor as such, it's kind of like you're almost mentoring each other as friends, aren't you? So I had that in place, and you just got to crack on with it. But I think more could be done in that domain. Definitely, I think more could be done to help players while they're playing, financially, and in the transition. I would have thought in my mind, I don't know what you think, but every year there's a set amount of people that stop playing. I would expect, this is me speaking. I'm not calling out the PFA. They do a lot of good things, but I would expect either a club, the PFA, or should be saying, right, there's 100 players here. They've just finished. This person ain't got a club. Let's call them. Do you need anything? Do you know what I mean? And when you're playing, things like, I don't know, I spoke to Glenn Luvens when I was at Sheffield Wednesday, and he said, I think in Holland they have like 10% compulsory pension contribution and things like that.
Right.
So just these small things, I think there's a gap there definitely between what you can do as service for players and what's happening now. I think there's probably a little bit more that should be done. I don't know what you think. I'm not calling anyone out, but I'm just saying there's always an opportunity to improve. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's why I'm doing the podcast, because I want people's honest opinions. I don't want people to kind of be stepping on eggshells. And I agree with what you're saying. I mean, the PFA are great. They've been around for many, many years, but there's always room for improvement. I mean, I know a couple of people within the PFA, and I've spoken to them, and they're in agreement with me as well. But you mentioned about, obviously, Lubens, your ex-teammate, and kind of what the equivalent of the PFA do over there in Holland. And again, that's something that we maybe need to look at. We all know when we're apprentices and things, and we used to get told to go to college. Now, I never had to, because I was at a certain level where they said, nah, like, you don't need to go, you'll train with us and let everyone else go. So I was like, well, fine,
that happened to me as well, yeah.
So if you've got a coach that knows you personally on and off the pitch, and they're telling you, like, you're at Portsmouth, you're one of our well-regarded youth team players, we want you to train with maybe the reserves while the rest of your peers go go to college for half a day. At that stage, you're obviously going to take that on board and think, okay, well, I'm buzzing, I've got an opportunity here. So you're not going to say, well, actually, I want to go to college. I'm not saying if you did do that, it's wrong, but I'm saying you're naturally going to listen to your coach, especially at a young age. So when that happened to me, I generally ask my teammates, okay, well, what was college like today? Oh, well, I just messed around. So for me, the players are going there, and it's just a day off. So the whole mindset and the whole process behind it is wrong. And I was thinking about something the other day, and I said, well, what about if there was like something in place where it's more hands-on, more tangible for players? So rather than sending everyone to college, because it may not be for everyone. Not everyone's a bookworm, or not everyone wants to go for that reason. So what about if they went and actually worked in an office or worked in a warehouse for maybe half a day and shadowed someone who's kind of affiliated with that company or well regarded or whatever? Because for me, if I was a player 17, 18, even if I was in and around the first team, and they said, right, there's an opportunity for you to go and work in an estate agent or go and work in hairdressers, even if I wasn't interested in doing that at the end of my career, I'd probably think, well, actually, I'll do that because it gives me an insight into what things are like on the other side. It also gives them an opportunity to see what it's like for a professional footballer, because everyone's got a perception of athletes, especially footballers. So we all know what that is, and it's not true at all. So it would give an opportunity.
Bright, good-looking guys.
But yeah, so it's one of those, and I probably would have taken that opportunity, to be honest. And it's something that maybe we need to look at going forward. I mean, I haven't got all the answers, but I've got a few kind of ideas. And I know going forward, because everyone's coming out now and they're more open with their feelings and mental health, and we all know kind of people have come out and spoken in the past, and you're kind of taken aback sometimes thinking, well, didn't think that person would have mental health issues or financial issues. So everyone's more open now and more receptive to things like that, whereas maybe 20 years ago, even in our day, and before that, obviously, it wasn't very prevalent. So it was kind of swept under the carpet more so. But yeah, I mean, I do agree with what you're saying. I'm glad you touched on that, because I was going to ask you a bit later on whether more help's needed. It's something that I ask everyone that comes on the show, really. So in terms of your career, obviously you mentioned that you started off at Portsmouth and you made your debut at a young age. I think it was 17. How was that for you? Like, how was the feeling making your debut?
Oh, I was so nervous. I was shitting myself.
Really?
Yeah, we were. Mate, I've written like a short book on it. It's called The Athlete's Bible. So I explain what happened in that. Okay. And yeah, I'll get it up later. You need to put in the link. See if I can get some buyers.
Yeah, to be fair, I'll read that. Yeah, send me that.
It's only an hour long. It's only an hour long. It's just about sport and psychology. Yeah, it's I was giving the money to NHS as well, the NHS.
Oh, nice.
Trust. Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, in that, basically, I'm just repeating what I've put in there because I wrote in there how nervous I was, and I've listened to people talk about their debuts. Like, you know, obviously you see the big players on Sky talking about it, Owen and people like that. And he's like, yeah, I was buzzing for it. I was couldn't wait to get out there. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I was so nervous. My feet were sweating. My hands were sweating. I think it was in the Championship. We were playing Stockport.
Yeah.
And I think I was playing against, like, I don't know, Iffy and Nora, I think, was playing up front or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was a big, strong boy. And my legs just didn't feel like my own in the first 10 minutes. I was just poor, and it was quite hot. But then second half, my mind just cleared, and then it was just like normal. Then it was just like playing a reserve game or a youth team game. Everything just cleared in my mind, and then I was fine then. But I just remember being just like so nervous. And I think I was for a lot of games I was nervous. You know what I mean? And even towards the end of my career, sometimes I'd be nervous for no, you know, it was just like adrenaline coming, you know. Whereas at other times I wasn't nervous at all. So yeah, it was just like a big moment for you. Like you said, if you've gone from 6 or 7 kicking a ball around to making your debut at 17. To you, it feels like the biggest thing in the world. It's not, but that's what it feels like to you. So you can build it up to be something massive, can't you?
Yeah, it's funny.
Where do you make your debut?
I was at Leicester, so I was in a Premiership, it was called then. This is back in 1999. So I came on against Newcastle. So in terms of Newcastle,
What do you mean Premiership? It was called then.
Premier League now.
Oh, come on, man.
What do you mean?
No different. That's no different, is it?
Two different names.
Yeah,
anyway. So I came on against Newcastle. I came on for about 25 minutes. So this was at home. So
right.
Gilbert Street.
Gilbert Street, yeah.
Yeah, so I was at Leicester at the time, and I was 18, nice. And I was flying in the reserves for a long period of time. So there was word going around that I'd be kind of making my debut and stuff. And I think there was a game, I think the first team were playing Fulham away, and I remember one of the coaches kind of just randomly said, I was just like drying myself off, and he walked past the dressing room, and then he stopped and came back, and he was like, I think it was only me in the dressing room. He said, I think the gaffer's thinking about starting you, but he was always a joker, Steve Walford, great coach as well, but he just said it like so flippantly, and I didn't believe him. Anyway, it didn't happen, and I didn't even travel. But it kind of stuck in my mind when he basically said the gaffer was thinking about starting me, and I was thinking, wow, because Martin O'Neill was the manager, and like obviously he's a big name, household name, great manager as well. But yeah, I made my debut against Newcastle at home, and their squad consisted of Solano, Shearer, Kevin Gallagher.
Who were you playing against on your side? Was it Warren Barton or something?
I can't remember. I think Solano would have been on the right.
It was Warren Barton before that, wasn't he? So he was
so yeah, I just remember. I'll be honest.
Steve Watson.
I think he was there.
Yeah.
So they had a great squad, great team, and to be honest, I didn't enjoy my debut just because I don't think I gave a good account of myself. I wasn't nervous even throughout my career. I was never nervous before a game or playing a game or whatever, no matter how big the occasion who I was playing against. But yeah, I mean, I remember coming off the pitch, and it was Theo Zacharakis, who was like a Greek centre midfielder, like said, "Oh, well done," put his arm around me. I think he was just being kind. I mean, I didn't have a terrible game.
But you didn't feel it. You didn't feel like you had a good game. You didn't believe it. Yeah.
Literally, as you know, my game was about getting the ball, running, taking players on, shooting, crossing, whatever.
Hey, you're making my debut look like a mess now. You're playing against Newcastle.
Nah, but it's one of them.
Newcastle in one of their, they were still towards the top end then, weren't they?
Yeah, massive.
Was Shearer playing then or not?
Yeah, like I said, Shearer was playing. I remember going up for a header, back post, and I didn't know he was there, and he just came straight through me, cleared me out, and it was like a wake up call.
Ruthless.
Yeah, just because I was so tired, I was out of breath. And obviously, you know how hard it is when you come on in a game anyway, especially in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was like. I was gasping for air for the first 10 minutes, just because I was nervous though. But if you weren't nervous, I would think.
Yeah,
you just need to do some more sprints, mate.
Exactly. Well, that's it. So as you know, I used to be like rapid. I used to be like a fast winger.
Oh, mate, yeah, you were rapid, yeah.
When I came on, I was thinking, because you know when you watch on TV and sometimes you watch players and you think, okay, well, they're fast or they're not fast or whatever. And then there's the odd one, more so nowadays, there's the odd one just absolutely rapid. And the commentators will obviously pick up on that and alleviate kind of how fast they are or elevate how fast they are. But when I came on, I was expecting to kind of hold my own in terms of pace-wise, because even in the reserves, when I was playing against kind of first-team household names and that, I was still kind of faster than them. But I remember just thinking every player was just fast, and I was thinking, this can't be right because I'm fast, and like these players are just running like past me with no effort at all. So it's just I just
speed of thought though, isn't it? It's when you're finding your feet. The game's obviously at a different level to what you're used to.
Exactly.
It's in your mind, isn't it? The first part of it is your reaction and your reading runs and reading the passes and the space and the rest of it.
Yeah. So the whole speed and intensity and kind of know-how was a massive step up for me, and I only made 3 appearances off the bench. But I do think if I kind of made a few more appearances, maybe started a few more, then like you said, you find your feet and you find the speed and kind of your whereabouts. But I didn't really get that opportunity. So, but yeah, I mean, it's part and parcel of football, as you know. And this leads on to kind of you saying about how well regarded you were at Portsmouth, and then a new manager came in, same scenario as me at Leicester, and then you went on loan. So what was it like for you to step down? I think it may have been a league or two. To Bournemouth. How was that kind of mindset for you? And how did you find the pitch as well?
Well, I went. I played about 30 odd games in the Championship, like I said, 17, 18. Then I went. We had a new manager come in. Redknapp came in, and the level was beyond the level that I was at. You know, I just wasn't as good as the players they were bringing in. They were like bottoming out Premiership players / top Championship players, and we would have had to train with them every day to build our level and really get our head down to get there. But we didn't really get that chance, to be honest. So that is what it is. And I went to Exeter and played like 6 times. Neil McNabb was down there, who was our coach, our reserve coach, who was top man. And I remember I was at my mum and dad's house and I was playing like Championship Manager or something, and he called me and I picked up the phone. Oh, my mum and dad, I don't even think I had a mobile phone then. And my dad, I don't know, I'm sure it was the house phone, and they brought it in and my dad said, oh, Neil McNabb's on the phone. So I spoke to him and he said, do you want to come down? I've got a Scottish voice. Do you want to come down, Lewis? And I was like, I was sat there and I was thinking, nah, I don't want to go down now. But I was being polite. I went, yeah, okay, yeah. I'll come down, because they were League 2. They were like near the bottom, and it was like it wasn't a million miles away, but it was about 3 hours or something from Portsmouth. But anyway, I went, and to be honest, Scott Hiley was down there, who was at Portsmouth when I was there, so other people I knew, Carl. The lad I played with as well, he was down there, so I had a couple of people I knew, but I didn't get on with. I was staying in a hotel. I was hotel, it was like B&B, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at all, and I didn't play well either, to be honest. And I couldn't wait to go back to Portsmouth. So that's just being honest. It just didn't. For whatever reason, I just couldn't get things together down there. There were some decent players down there still, but I didn't play well. So when I went back, and I even managed, I was staying there. I ran the bath. I was upstairs, and I thought, I just nipped to the shop. This bath's dead slow, so I turned it on. Hot bath. I thought I'd just go down to the shop. It was like just across the road, and I'll come back and have a bath because it's so slow. So I went down to the shop
Yeah.
Bought some like food.
Yeah.
Came back. I was like on my own and walked into like where they've got like the bar, and there's a fruit machine on the side.
Yeah.
And I used to gamble when I was a little bit when I was younger, and I just thought
Yeah.
I'd just have a go on the fruit machine. So I put about £5 in.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, it must have been about an hour and a half gone by. I walked up to the first floor, and I seen like all this soil on the landing. And I thought, what the fuck is going on here? And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, what the hell is that? Why is there soil on it?
Yeah.
And the woman comes down and she goes, have you left the bath on? And I went, oh my God. And I come through the ceiling, and that was all the like insulation had come out onto the floor. And I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And yeah, I was so embarrassed. But yeah, that just summed it up for me. That just summed my time up down there. And then obviously ended up going for, not me, that's all insurance company, hopefully. And yeah, and then I went to Bournemouth, and like you said, you know, it's a good setup down there. We trained at the school. There's good lads there. Some of them still there now and coaching. And yeah, it was good. It was, you know, still like I had a lot to learn, a lot of skills to develop, and a lot of it's bit different at times, different leagues, different clubs, different styles. But you adapt. I think Sean O'Driscoll was really good for me. You know, talked to me and helped me out. Who else did we have? Granty was there, wasn't he?
Celtic legend.
Peter Grant. Yeah, he was there. He was good as well. Used to do stuff after training. I used to love that, doing things after training.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed doing like the extras and learning things after. But you know, you couldn't do that at Exeter because there was you know, the pitch was like a mess and you had to get off. And I just enjoyed, you know, you were fortunate enough, you know, don't realise it at the time, but at Portsmouth you had the decent pitches, couple of decent pitches, and coaches that would train with you after. You know, you had enough coaches to do things like that, the individual sessions, where lower down they've only got a certain amount of people, certain amount of time on pitches and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that was a difference. I could have kind of said, right, I'm not going out on loan again, or I could have had the mindset, well, I've got to go out on loan, I'm just getting nowhere here. So going to Bournemouth, I used to drive there and back. You know, it'd be like an hour and a half there and back or whatever. Commute wasn't too bad, and you know, that's where you learn things, isn't it? Same with you. If you can't make it at that level, you just got to drop down and keep going. And I think some players, I played with a couple of players who they got offered the chance to go on loan and they said no. You know, so it's kind of doing what you don't want to do almost, because it's, you know, there's no loan manager helping you out in them days. It's just like, go on, son, off you go. Here's the address, deal with it. And no one really, no one's checking up on you. You know what I mean? How you getting on? You just got to deal with it. So yeah, I think that shows to me when I see young players that are willing to drop down leagues and willing to go out and loan and fail and then come back and try again. That's something that you can relate to in business. Is like, you know, you're trying new products, new services, new clients, all these different new marketing, everything. You try all these different avenues and they don't work, and you either complain about it and give up and blame the world, or you show that other side and find a solution. So I think that's a big deal in sport and in wider business as well.
Definitely, mate. It definitely correlates. I mean, I'll be honest, I had a year left on my contract at Leicester. And I had the choice of either staying there and, I don't know, fester in the reserves or go and make a name for myself. And I always wanted to play. And I think when I left, I was kind of 20, pushing 21. And bear in mind, I made my debut in the first team at 18. So before my debut, I was already kind of, well, I'd mention it again. But yeah, I mean, before I made my debut.
Shearer played.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Stop trying to kill me off. But yeah, I mean, before I made my debut, I was already established in the reserve. So I played many, many games in the reserve. And I didn't want to continue playing. So I just left. Had the opportunity to go to a decent club, as in Bournemouth, with a good manager.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of remember about Sean O'Driscoll and Peter Grant was they were always honest with everyone, whether you liked it or not. And
Yeah.
as you know, when you're coming from kind of bigger clubs in inverted commas, Leicester, Portsmouth, and you go into clubs like Bournemouth at that stage where they were kind of low in the league, it's easy to think that you'll get in the first team easy and you'll just kind of you find your feet straight away. And that wasn't the case for me. I went there and I wouldn't say I was surprised with the standard because I knew all those players had kind of been playing first team football against real men in real games that actually mattered for a long period of time. And I hadn't done that. I was coming kind of fresh from the reserves, which is fine, but the games don't mean anything. You win, lose, draw, it doesn't mean anything. Whereas obviously in those leagues, you win a game, that win bonus goes towards paying someone's mortgage or rent or whatever it may be. So you had to learn quickly, and the standard was high. We were a passing team as well, so one of the few passing teams in that league at that time. It's obviously changed now because the standard's higher.
Yeah.
But I remember Sean O'Driscoll gave me probably the best, if not one of the best pieces of advice when I was a player. And he basically said to me, you need to be more consistent. And at the time, I did respect him and I respected what he said. But you know, when you kind of think, well, I don't agree. At the time, I kind of thought there was a percentage of it or piece of me that kind of didn't really agree. But I could see where it's coming from, and it did make sense because I was kind of up and down. I was still learning the game. I was only 20, 21. So I was still learning the game, playing against men who were kind of 28, 29, 30, who'd played for many years. So yeah, I took that with me wherever I went, and it kind of worked. And the clubs that I was kind of most successful at, I was always consistent. So I owe that to kind of Sean O'Driscoll, to be honest. Great manager. I'm sure you'd say the same thing. But yeah, so obviously, so we're moving away from Bournemouth now, and you obviously establish yourself as a championship player when you're at Stoke and Sheffield Wednesday. So how did you find that kind of playing in the championship for such a long period of time, like week in, week out? How was that for you?
Yeah, again, it was like I spoke to Sean after I'd had those loan spells at Bournemouth. I spoke to Sean O'Driscoll, who, like you said, you know, did wonders for me and played me every week. And like you said, you don't realise how fine the margin is between, you know, carving out a career in the Championship and carving out a career in League Two. That, you know, so competitive that you only need a season, a good season or two, and you can jump one way or you can jump the other. So it's every year good players are coming in. But yeah, I spoke to Sean O'Driscoll and he said, do you want to come on loan again? I said, no, I don't want to come on loan again. I'm sick of going on loan. I need to move, because I knew I was not getting a chance at Portsmouth, and I had to set up somewhere else. And you just know when it's time to go.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you know, we'll see what we can do, kind of thing. And then Stoke came in. Tony Pulis came in and said, do you want to come to Stoke? And then I ended up going to Stoke. So getting to Stoke again, I played immediately. I've got thrown in at the deep end, if you like, because I'd obviously spent time in League Two, then League One, and I had Championship a bit before. But we played Arsenal at Highbury. I don't know if that's my first game or one of them. It might have been my first start or something. I can't remember. It was quite quick. I've still got Van Persie's shirt, actually, signed shirt in not washed, probably stinks. But yeah, we played at Highbury. I used to support Arsenal as a kid, so I was buzzing with that, just to get on the pitch. And Perez was like darting inside. It was like the Invincibles team, but Henry wasn't playing. Vieira was playing. Right. Henry was probably just chilling, watching. But yeah, it was just another level, like you said, and you're trying to adapt and improve but Pulis didn't want you training too much on after the games and stuff, and I like to just stay out and practice other things. So that used to get on my nerves a bit, but he did all right in the end, didn't he? So he must have known something. And yeah, and defensively, I learned so much from him, from Pulis, shape, organisation, you know, the positioning, the set plays, all of that stuff. So you're just learning it all along the way. I never played great football at Stoke. I played my best football after that when I went to Sheffield Wednesday, after working a lot harder. So I was at Stoke, and then I got a back injury. Stoke got promoted that year. I had the back injury. I must have played about 50 times or something before that. Then I had a back injury, lost my place. There was John Halls was playing at the time. So he was number one choice. He had been at Arsenal.
Yeah, I remember.
So I was only playing. Yeah, he had like a contract dispute. So he was. I remember John Rudge. He was like the. I don't even know what Rudge's role was. Like director of football or something. I tried to ask for like a new contract because I played my allotted games, and he was like, "You're only playing because John Halls is in a dispute with his contract." I went, cheers, Rudgy.
Yeah.
And, truth hurts, but no, it's probably true, to be fair. And yeah, but I just played those games, never did great. It was just holding down a place just about, do you know what I mean? And then had a back injury, got the same sort of position where you know you need to move on. And I went to Sheffield Wednesday on loan. Did okay, not great, and then signed for them, and then did all right, got injured again for a period, and then that's when I played my best football. When I came back from that, I had like a couple of moments where I thought, right, I need to pull my finger out here. What I'm doing day to day is not getting the desired results. So I thought, right, what can I do? So, you know, I'd thought that in the past and done nothing, but this time it was like, boom, I need to do something here. Yeah. So I looked around. I got like a strength and conditioning coach, my own one, Ian Piper. He was training like the Brownlee brothers and working with Anthony Joshua in Sheffield at the, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like the British training facility. I can't remember what it's called now. But I worked with him a bit because I was never the quickest like you. I wasn't rapid, but I just thought, well, I've got to try and do the best I can, reactions and strength and the rest of it. Nutrition, I saw like another guy there, Mark, he was at Man United, was their nutritionist. I spoke to him a little bit and just started to eat properly. Lost a bit of weight. I was training like a madman. Like that period, I was training like a madman. I did pick up a few injuries, but I was like training on my day off.
Really?
I was getting up in the morning, training by myself, kicking a ball about in the garden before and training. I was just like on it. I was watching videos of stuff. I was getting home sometimes and doing some skills by myself. And I got, obviously, in that period, I developed a lot more than I'd done it, you know, since I was probably 17 or something, you know, when I first did it. So, and then we started doing well. We got relegated one year and then we got promoted the next. I got player of the season the year after. So, and then I think I played one more year and got injured. I was probably overdoing it, to be honest. But yeah, in that time, that was when I was properly immersed in the game more than I'd ever done since my childhood. And yeah, you get the results, and I was enjoying it. And then the mental side obviously helped with that as well. But it was that moment where, boom, I had like a, you know, little mini epiphany thing where I'm like, right, I need to just do something different here. This ain't working. And like you said, people can tell you that. Like Sean O'Driscoll can sit there and tell you that, Danny, you're not as consistent. He's basically saying, look, I think you can do better than what you're doing, Danny. And people have said that bit to me before, and I'm like, what the hell does he know?
Mm.
And there's a bit of confrontation there. Whereas when you're really listening and you've got that relationship, like you had a decent relationship with Sean, I think most players did, you know, like you said, they're not always what you want to hear, but you respected what was being said. And then when that drops for you, then things start to change, you know. So I think that was probably my most enjoyable spell, you know, in football. Because sometimes, like you said, you're doing stuff and you're not really enjoying it, but you know you've got to do it.
That's it.
So
that's massive.
And then after that, I went to I got they let me go because towards the end I was getting to 30. I had a decent like my best contract under Dave Jones. We'd got promoted and I got that Player of the Year. And then after that, I got injured again. I just kept getting little niggles, and it was to do with my back. And I tried to keep crack on, but I just end up playing 10 or 20. And too often they let me go, and I went to Rotherham, played a year there. Sort of same sort of thing. I eventually got going, and once I started playing well, like to begin with, I was struggling trying to find my feet because I'd got injured in the interim as well. And then I've eventually got some momentum going under Neil Redfern. And I'd got to 30 games. And if I played one more game, I would have got another year contract.
Right.
So I'm thinking, right, this is good. I'm getting in my momentum. The team's starting to pick up a little bit. I think we were playing Leeds away and we nicked the draw or win or something. We were obviously near the bottom, but we would build it. We were getting better. And they said, right, you need to write that off your contract. You play one more game, we're not giving it to you. And at that point, I was about 31 or 2 or something, and I just thought, you know, this is just taking the piss. So I made the decision that I wasn't going to do it because I thought I can't play for someone who's just treating me like an idiot. So the long and short of it is that whatever you say about football, for me, I should have, you know, bit the bullet and carried on playing for my career. And you know, Neil Warnock came in and did a great job, and I never got a look in that. I in the end, I did write off, but it was too late by then. I'd had a gap where I was out, and I didn't even never got a look in. But you have principles sometimes, and I think when somebody tells you something, you sign a contract, and then they say, no, hang on a minute, we don't want you for another year. Take that bit out. And I think so. Stuff like that goes in football that people don't realise, and you know, clubs are as bad as players. You know, when people criticise a player for leaving and taking the money, you don't know the whole story as a fan. Sometimes, you know, when you're looking in as a pure fan of a club and you don't know the ins and outs, you can sometimes forget that it goes both ways, and you've got to sometimes do what's right for you and your family, or just as a human being, you're like, no, this ain't right. So, of
course, because what fans don't see and people outside of sport, they'll just read the headlines and kind of make of it what they will. But I mean, I've seen it many times where, as you mentioned, you've got something in a contract or you've been verbally told something and it's not been honoured from the club's end. And as an athlete, as a sports person, a footballer, you need to be aware that you're just an asset. That's all you are. So as soon as the club doesn't want you, that's it, and they'll do all they can to get rid of you. So I remember, and I've said this in other podcasts before, I remember I had to go in on Sunday sometimes just kind of randomly with 6 players and just train shooting, just because I hadn't done anything wrong, but they just didn't want me around. And it was just frustrating. And that's just a small side of it. I mean, that's been going on for many years. I know it's still happening now. Players having to train on their own or coming in at random times when everyone's gone home and no kit laid out and just silly things like that. So
they made me go and train with the youth team. I had to go and train with the youth team. Do you know what I mean? And I still trained because I wanted to train, but it was like
Exactly.
When you do that to a 30-year-old player or something, 31-year-old player, it's like, come on, it's just a
Exactly.
lack of respect. It's just
Yeah.
like a lack of as a culture as well, everyone else around you. That's what I see now in business. When you treat someone like that, everyone around you, you forget that you send that message out to everyone in the whole organisation.
Exactly.
You're saying that can be, oh, look how they're treating that guy just because they had a clause in this contract. Well, what are they going to do for me? That ain't a club. That ain't a company I'm going to bite my arm off to go and run around for and want to play at. It's not like, at the end of the day, you are an asset to a company. You've got a lifespan, but if you're a company, you've got to do better than that for the people there that are going to be there for the next 5-10 years.
Exactly.
You've got to treat everyone with respect and humility, really, and even that's like, people will accept that. I think sometimes management, all the way to the top, they can be a bit cowardly. They can be, rather than come to you and sit down and say, look, this is the reason why we can't have as much as things are going all right now. We don't want you next year, and talk you through it and be honest, because I think people can take that. It's like if you're getting made redundant or something, you want at least somebody to bring you in the office and say, this is what we're doing. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Behind it.
Yeah. But if people are scared to have them conversations sometimes, or they haven't got that relationship on a human level, sometimes people can shirk that responsibility, or they can shy away from it. Whereas really, it's to the benefit of everyone to say, look, what's best for you now?
Exactly.
We'll be honest, we don't want you, but what can we do? Do you want to go out on loan? Obviously you're just going to sit here. Like I just sat there and they paid me till the end of till the end of the season.
Really?
Whereas really they would have been better off just saying, look, I don't think they'd let me go out on loan unless they were paying the whole amount. And I'm like, well, you don't need to do that. Just do 50-50 or whatever it is, and I'll go. At least you're going to save 50%, but it becomes like a bit. Their priorities are obviously on other things; they're not on you. But there's just a big opportunity there to show everyone else in the organisation what you're about, rather than just treat people, like you just don't care. So
yeah, it's true. I agree. But
I think football has changed, though. I think like people have got a lot better with that type of thing, I think, than the old days, as it were. But there's still a way to go with it.
Yeah, there's still elements of it kind of hanging around still, and like I said, nothing really surprises me in football anyway. We've all seen it and done it as well.
Exactly.
So we've gone through your career, and like I said, you've had a great career, sustained in the Championship for the most part. I remember watching some of the games, thinking kind of, even I saw the improvement from kind of the 18, 19, 20-year-old that came to Bournemouth. So obviously when you were playing at Stoke and Leeds and Sheffield Wednesday. So well done for that. And obviously we mentioned what you're involved in at the moment, and you seem to be doing really well, and you've got elements of sport that you're still kind of involved in. In terms of what you're doing now, what transferable skills did you take from your time in football to help you in what you're doing now? So Lit Within and all the other kind of things that you're involved in. What transferable skills have you brought with you?
Like I said, most of it is just drive and determination, like a natural drive and determination to make things happen, and also lightening up on that a little bit and just not knowing when you need a rest as well, So I think the transferable skills were, for me, it's more the creative side and making things happen, building relationships with people. At times I came out of my comfort zone. I didn't want to talk to people. Sometimes I was being a bit quiet, and then when you're in a sales conversation, then you're not gonna make any sales unless you open your mouth. So and letting people know that you're open for business, with marketing, like what we're doing here, you're showcasing yourself, you're talking to talking about things that might be of interest and of use for other people, giving them value. So for me, it's you know, coming out of, it's the cliche of coming out of your comfort zone, which to me just means developing your skills, even if you feel a bit unsure about it. And then obviously the determination to be agile, and if something's not worked, try something else, and don't get disheartened by that, because like I said, with football, you've got to navigate from one team to another, one style to another, one league to another. You've got to be honest with yourself and say what you need to do.
Definitely.
And then little things like, during that break, I learned things like Photoshop. I learned that by myself on YouTube. How to make a video. I learned how to make a video on Premiere Pro.
Okay.
With the help from a guy. I just had to figure that out. The guy gave me the template. So they're kind of results of that that hard work and just spending time trying to figure stuff out. I went on, you know, property courses, and like I said, the mindset side of it. So to me, it all boils down to just your intuition, knowing what you want, what your interests are. Like we did with football, no one told you to kick a ball about. You just followed it, and even though the odds are so low, you know, ridiculously low, starting out at 6-7, but you managed to find a way to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
So that for any footballer to realise that is that alone shows that they've got that within them to find their way even against the odds. So it's kind of starting that again, and knowing you've got all those qualities there. You just got to tap into them. So yeah, to me, it's just that drive and natural determination to do something that you enjoy and make a living out of it.
Massively.
Yeah,
I mean, I've really enjoyed the chat today. Thanks for coming on. Obviously, we haven't spoken.
Me too, mate. Thanks for having me.
Ages. Yeah, no problem. Obviously, we'll try and keep in touch along the way. If you just want to let everyone know the names of the companies that you're working with, where we can find you, whether it be on LinkedIn or whatever it may be, just so that people know kind of where you are.
Yeah, so Lit Within, consultant, trainer, coach for cultural transformation, business performance. So you can contact me at lewis@litwithin.co.uk. You can go on the website www.litwithin.co.uk. For players and managers, it's lewis@theinsightcoach.com. So yeah, those two platforms. I'm always on LinkedIn. If anyone messages me on LinkedIn, I'll get back to them.
What, like you did with me, like 2-3 weeks later?
Only if I see them about 2 weeks later making a video with someone else, and then I think, oh, what's this guy doing? What's this guy up to?
Nah, brilliant.
But that's it. Yeah, those two are the best. Yeah.
Good stuff. Listen, good luck with it. I'm sure you'll be.
Yeah, and you, mate.
Thank you. I'll keep an eye out on LinkedIn. Yeah. Thanks for coming on again. Really enjoyed the chat, and we'll go from there. Hopefully catch up soon in the near future.
All right, mate. Take care.
See you soon, mate. See you later.